you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
We got Danny in Orlando. How are you? Thanks for waiting.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
Horse.
Horse? For the last caller, huh? Well, I'm actually a Christian, and I'm calling in reference to the atheist religion. I wanted to know
Atheism
exactly
isn't a
what
religion.
do you believe. I was
Danny?
watching...
Danny?
Danny?
Yes?
Atheism isn't a religion.
Well, what do you believe as an atheist society?
About what?
Well, first of all, atheism is just the rejection of theistic claims. It's a position on a single issue, whether or not a God exists. Everything else is something else. So atheism has no tenets, no dogma, no traditions, no governing bodies. There's nothing about it that you could identify as religious. And atheists, the only way you could be a bad atheist is to believe in God. If you believe in God, you're not really an atheist.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong.
Other than that, anything else, any other position is entirely open. So you can't say, what do atheists believe about X? I can tell you what a lot of rational secular humanists who are atheists happen to think about a particular issue, but there's no guarantee that actually, it's true for religion as well. You're not going to find all Southern Baptists or even agree on any one thing or everything.
Right. Well, I was listening to you earlier, and you were saying, I think, to another caller about asking. I think he said he was an atheist for like 15 years, and you were saying, well, when you conversate with a Christian or someone else that is in a certain belief or whatever, you ask them why do they believe what they believe. Well, that's the question that I pose to you. You know, why do you believe that there is no God?
There
you go again. Atheism is not the belief that there is no God. Atheism, okay, the proposition is some God exists, and if you think that it's true, you're a theist, and if you don't think it's true, you're an atheist. That doesn't necessarily mean that you hold the belief there is no God. The example that I've used before is when juries vote, they vote guilty or not guilty. They don't vote guilty or innocent. So the fact that you voted guilty, not guilty, doesn't necessarily mean that you're convinced that they're innocent. It's just that you remain unconvinced of guilt. Now, there are atheists, and we have a label for it. It's commonly named anti-theism and sometimes hard atheism, that actually do believe that there is no God.
Correct.
But that's not a requirement of the atheist label. And so the reason that I don't believe is because I have not been presented with sufficient evidence to justify that belief. And I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. So I based my beliefs on reason and evidence.
Right, and I hear, as I hear people call in, I hear a lot of people talk about truth, and this is just my opinion. I hate, I dislike no one or what your beliefs are your beliefs, or what you don't believe, that's what you do as a person, here on earth. We've all been, we're here on earth, and we all going to have different mindsets, I guess you could say.
Sure.
Now, I heard you saying earlier that at one point you were a Christian.
Yes.
And I wonder, was it an event that happened in your life or something that opened your eyes to get you to, turn to atheism? Now, I heard Jen, trying to remember exactly what she said.
Well, you could just ask her. She's right here.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember. I couldn't. It was like two or three callers ago, and I meant to write it down, and I walked downstairs and kind of forgot about it. But you were saying like if something tragic happened in someone's life.
Oh, we were talking about why people believe
to God.
Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, the question there was, why do so many people turn to God when something tragic happens?
Right.
And so, we were talking about a caller who was asking that specific question.
Okay.
In my case, to answer your question from a minute ago, No, there wasn't some event. I never got mad at God. I never had a tragedy. I didn't lose somebody I loved. My thing was, I was studying to be a minister and wanted to be the best Christian I could be, and so I spent more than a year and a half at a particular point in prayer and study. And my roommate was an atheist, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't end up in heaven while he was ending up in hell. So I began to investigate the objections to my religious beliefs, and it turns out that I did not have any sound, rational justification for my beliefs. I've been a skeptic my entire life. I just didn't apply it to my religious beliefs, and as soon as I did, I found that there was no justification. Meanwhile, while I'm engaging in this on a rational level, on a level of study and investigation, I'm also in prayer basically begging for God to offer me anything because this, I want to do the best I can to serve Him, and I got nothing. Now, even if I'd gotten something at this point, I would have to do some serious thinking about it because it would be very arrogant of me to presume that I could not be fooled or delusional.
Right.
One of the things that we do when we try to figure out whether or not our beliefs are accurate is we look for corroboration outside. And so if there's a God that manifests in reality in some detectable way, then this is something that we can investigate. And the investigations never turn up a God.
Right. And one of the things that, I understand what you're saying, but me personally, because at one point in my life or in my walk, I felt like there was nothing to believe in. I guess you could say no God because of the things you see within the earth. You see poverty and all these bad things.
Oh, but see,
you say you were praying and looking for something, and I was at one point too, and I remember what really got what really set my mind, I guess you could say, into the mindset that I'm in, was that I seen a woman healed
of what?
Of thyroid tumors. She had like 54 tumors within her body.
How do you know?
And her doctor actually came, and he was not a Christian or anything.
How do you know?
But because he told me.
Okay.
He told us. He said he was not a Christian, but he said I had to come to church with my patient because I did not believe what I seen happen.
And
she had 54 tumors.
No one would ever set
body.
that up and lie to anybody about that, right?
No, well, anybody could lie about anything, but what was the reason? What was the reasoning of lying? This lady was healed. This woman.
It doesn't
now, this is what I'm saying though. She brought her X-rays because people said just what you said. No, people said exactly what you said.
So,
and trust me, I do. Danny, I do understand where you're coming from because this is the same. This is how I used to feel about it.
Danny, this is one of the biggest scams out there. This is one of the biggest scams out there. Every TV preacher out there, just about that claims to be a faith healer, has pulled this on people. This happens literally every day.
But here's the thing. It doesn't even have to be a lie, and it doesn't have to be an intentional fraud. The fact of the matter is, first of all, it's more plausible that it's a mistake than that it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But second of all, even if we know cancers and stuff go into remission, we know that people do recover from illnesses, including terrible illnesses on occasion. If, hang on, Danny, hang on. Even if this happened, even if a woman had 54 tumors and the next day she had 0, how do you know a God did it?
How do I know a God?
How could anybody know what the cause of the healing was?
Well, the reason is because and like I said, this is me, so I can't exactly expect you to understand all of what I'm saying, but I believe, because I am a believer in God, when I pray something, I stand on that thing. I believe that God is going to do it because He has it. Well, The lady, I wasn't the one that prayed for the lady with the tumor.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who prayed for her.
People.
It doesn't matter who prayed for her. It doesn't matter if anybody prayed for her. I'm asking, okay,
Correct.
here is an event.
You're asking me how do I believe?
No, I'm asking why.
Because I prayed before and something happened. You were saying you were looking for something. You were praying to God at one point.
That's called the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. The after this, therefore because of this. If you take an aspirin and say a prayer, which one fixed your headache?
But the thing was, nothing was taken.
Okay. If you say a prayer and your headache goes away, did God take your headache away?
Yes.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because He said it in His words.
Because headaches never go away on their own.
Huh?
Because headaches never go away on their own.
The point is...
Because they never go away on their own?
She's being sarcastic.
Yes, it's called sarcasm.
She's trying to demonstrate...
No, I'm sorry.
Hang on, Danny.
I do believe you can have a headache, maybe go take a nap, wake up and the headache is gone.
Sure.
Okay.
I do believe that.
And so...
But I also believe that you could stand before me, I pray for whatever it is that's going on within your body, and I believe that God can heal you instantaneously or take time.
Well, boy, there's a win-win scenario.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
God might heal you now, or He might take a little while.
Hey,
you're setting up a
the reason why I'm saying it may take a little.
Danny, you're setting up a win-win scenario. You're setting up a no-lose scenario. You're beginning with the belief that God can and does do these things. You are in no way attempting to justify that God is in fact the cause, and I think it's because that you, like everybody else, understands that it would be impossible to do this. This is one of the problems with investigating the paranormal. We can investigate whether or not a phenomenon manifests in reality. We cannot ever rationally verify a supernatural cause. All we can ever do is assert that that's the cause, and we can't have any justification for it. You can believe all day, but you don't have any good reason to believe. And given the fact that headaches sometimes go away on their own, you have no way of calculating what the likelihood is that a God investigated. Because when we calculate the probability, we put the number of times X has been observed to be the answer over the number of cases. And the number of times that X has been identified, that God exists and God has interacted in human beings, has been successfully identified as being the answer, is 0. And so you cannot calculate, you cannot even begin to calculate how probable this is. You are just going off of what you believe and suffering from confirmation bias. I believe God can heal you. I prayed, you got better, therefore God did it. No, that's not how we determine causality.
No, and you know what? To a point, I agree with you on that.
I'm sure you do. It's the point where you stop agreeing with me that's the problem.
No, the problem is broadening your mind. Like I said, at one point you believed that there was a God, but because you seen no proof, you stopped believing. So who are you as a human to demand proof?
Who am I not to?
Yeah, how can you not?
How can you not?
How can you just believe something without evidence?
Danny, you believe that God made us, right?
But this is what I'm saying.
Danny, stop.
Me personally,
Danny.
I'm saying maybe you haven't seen evidence
Danny, you just asked me a question.
Something spiritual.
Danny, you just asked me a question. Who am I to do this, okay? You believe God exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
You believe God created us, right?
Yes.
You believe that God wants us to know He exists?
Do I believe He wants us to know?
Yes.
Well, yes, I do.
Okay, we're getting there. You believe that God gave us a brain and the ability to reason?
Yes.
And you believe that reason is a reliable pathway to truth that we use all the time in all other aspects of reality, correct?
Correct.
Then why is it that God would, or that you would ask, who am I to demand that God demonstrate Himself with reason if my eternal salvation is based upon whether or not I believe? And I am going to use the tool that God gave me, according to you, in the most correct, reliable fashion, and it does not confirm evidence of the existence of God. Doesn't that mean that your God is intentionally hiding from reason, the best tool that He gave us to discover the universe?
No.
He's not.
There's a purpose and a reason for everything.
Oh, what is that?
Everything that we learn in life. Sometimes, and this is just an example.
What is the purpose and the reason for not letting us use a tool that you say your God gave us? What would be the purpose for that?
For not using the tool?
Well,
yeah, you just said that we're not supposed to do that when we.
Either your God.
I didn't say we're not supposed to do that.
What you said is that your God wasn't hiding from reason, and that he also doesn't succumb to reason, which is a contradiction. Either your God exists or he doesn't. Agreed?
Agreed.
Now,
and me personally, like I said, my belief, because of what I experienced,
yes, we understand
and
what your belief is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we understand. You believe.
Right.
So, if your God exists, he either manifests in reality or he doesn't. Correct?
I didn't quite understand the question.
So there's two possibilities. Either the God that exists manifests in reality or doesn't. Those are the only two options.
No, he exists.
No, okay. Either your God exists or he doesn't exist. Agreed? Those are the only two options.
He does exist. Just because you cannot see him does not mean he does not exist. That's what I'm saying.
Danny.
And trust me, I understand.
Danny.
I'm not,
No, Danny, you don't understand because I've set up
understand.
two mutually exclusive logical possibilities, and all I've asked is for you to acknowledge them so I can go on to the next point. Either your God exists or he does not exist. Those are the only two possibilities, yes or no.
He exists because I've seen what